Live from JMT Studios, it's time for Two Jersey Kids, the best video game podcast on the planet.
What is up, everybody? This is episode 47 of Two Jersey Kids, and I'm back in the hosting chair. Gary, you can't take this away from me. I am one of your hosts, Adam Buckingham. Alongside me is my best friend, the best stick handler in the business. And if you guys didn't know, this is Two Jersey Kids. We are a video game podcast. We come out every Friday. It's exciting stuff. I am here in my new apartment. It is very strange. Marta is in the background, so I'm a little self-conscious right now. Whatever I say, I hope she doesn't judge me, but you know, it's just the way it is. She loves me. She accepts me for who I am, I hope. But yeah, Gary, it's good to see you, man. What have you been up to?
A lot of things. So it's actually kind of fun. I like doing these episodes. I like doing more episodes, but I also like having that week period because there's a lot more to talk about in terms of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You want me to get into my gaming? Do you want me to start that right now?
Sure.
All right.
Go for it. We're working out the kinks still. It's because since the car episode, which was last week, we're still working out the kinks. I think Gary still wants to be in the hosting chair, but I said no. Just kidding. I didn't say no. I just sort of went with it.
Well, I wouldn't mind being the host, but that's a different story. I was just wondering because usually have a spiel to go through. I didn't know if you wanted to hit that first. But
sure, I'll hit it first. I think I already did it, but this is Two Jersey Kids. If you're a new listener, please stay with us to the end. And then when you get to the end, let's hit that subscribe button if you really think we deserve it. We are a video game podcast. We release every Friday. Sometimes they're going to be Tuesdays episodes. We'll let you know. But I think the Friday episodes, we will definitely be here every Friday, so you won't be let down by me or Gary. But yeah, please follow us on Twitter at Two Jersey Kids. And that's basically it. And if you like us so much, go to iTunes, hit us, give us a rating. Yeah, that's basically it. That's cool. All I can really say about the spiel. I think I've shortened it enough so people will be like, shut up, Adam. Let's get into what you guys are going to be discussing this week, you know?
Yeah, groovy. So to start off, it's kind of hard to figure out where to start because I've been doing a lot of different games recently, but I'll start off with one thing. So I started playing CSGO, Counter-Strike.
Oh, wow. That's some intense stuff. Did you get yelled at?
Well, that's actually funny you mentioned that. I actually turned off the chat audio in the game so I don't have to hear anybody. But don't worry, there's still people typing messages into the chat box. So, yeah. But it's actually a lot of fun. I really enjoy the game. Oh, dude, it's so annoying. It's funny. My brother-in-law, Gavin, he's really into that game. He loves playing it. He's been playing it for years. And he was saying, he's like, I think he'd be a really good Counter-Strike player. So I started playing. It's a lot of fun. It's really hard. There's so many guys out there that are really unfucking believably good. Mm-hmm. And it's really intense. So, I've had a good time playing that game. I've also been playing PUBG.
Nice. Nice.
It's been better, I would say. Compared to, I guess, the last few times I've been talking about it on the podcast, I've been improving.
Yeah, last week there was a lot of mostly, I would say, love-hate relationship, but it was mostly hate. You were just feeling frustrated with playing by yourself, and I was asking you whether or not playing with other friends can help, stem that frustration. But I don't know, has it been a better experience for you as of late? Because I know you've been streaming it. Plug for your stream, even though it should be Two Jersey Kids stream, but that's neither here nor there.
Anyway. Yeah, well, it's been better. I've learned how to, I think I've just kind of succumbed to the fact that I have to get in a car. I had to loot, find a car, and then just drive around and try to find people or drive to a decent spot and kind of just camp it a little bit. But I've gotten a lot better at just kind of finding good spots for me to be instead of just kind of running out in the open and playing like a jackass and getting mowed down by some guy laying in the grass 50 miles away from me. So I've gotten better at the game. It's so much fun, but at the same time, it's still really frustrating because you can get killed by people that just seemingly sit in corners for like the entire game and don't do anything. I sometimes wonder if these people have good reading available. Like, hey, do you have a book you're reading while you're doing this? Honestly, it's insane.
They're going through the Harry Potter series as they just sit and play this game if they find the right spot.
Seriously.
Yeah. Oh, that's when Dumbledore dies. Spoilers.
And honestly, though, like if that's how you improve at the game, I'm doing something fucking wrong, apparently.
Do you think there's a way that they can improve on that, or do you think that's just built into what PUBG actually is?
I think it's just built in. I don't know what you could do. You can't stop camping, I don't think, in any game, and that game is it's already slow, it's already methodical, so it's kind of I don't really think there is anything you can do, unfortunately.
Say if you stay in one area, one set area for 10 minutes, you're dead.
That would be nice. Or
they would just run out and run back in.
Yeah, or like a lightning bolt comes down and kills you immediately. I don't know. That'd be great. But
God frowns upon you.
Yeah, well, I'm not even going to get into it. I hate those people. But last thing I've been doing, it's pretty obvious. I've been tweeting about it a lot, is Destiny 2. I've been playing the latest beta that has come out. We'll actually get into that. I want to get into that more in the actual news section. We're going to discuss it more. So without further ado, Adam, what have you been doing recently?
You make it built up like this is some impressive thing that it's my turn to explain what I've been up to. Well, I finally have internet, so that's exciting. It's been a long couple of weeks. I sound like such a millennial, first world problems, not having Wi-Fi or anything. I had to deal with whole data issues. The only issue, like I'm fine with dealing with data, and it's just this apartment is not really conducive for data use, just because it's like I get like 2 bars, if that, and nothing seems to load in any sort of fashion. Even if I have 3, it just seems like the signal just stops right outside our window, so it's kind of frustrating. But yeah, I mean, Game of Thrones came back this week. I was pretty hyped about that. I was running back and forth, getting excited about that. I like everything around Game of Thrones, whether it's just watching the episode once or twice, and then it's also listening to other people's opinions. Like, there's a bunch of podcasts about Game of Thrones, and I love people diving into and explaining each scene, and then when they release the preview of the next episode, which is at the end of Game of Thrones, but if they release the preview, there's a lot of people on YouTube that dives into every little scene in the preview, and then it gets me hyped even more for this Sunday, and that's what it's exciting. Besides recording Two Jersey Kids episode, which is a privilege and a pleasure all of its own, but watching Game of Thrones is sort of a reward for getting through the work week that is hell sometimes. So it's always nice to go watch Game of Thrones, even though it can, especially in the earlier seasons, can be very, very depressing.
Yeah, Red Wedding, yes.
But other than that, I've been playing some off and on some Sly Cooper on the Vita, just here and there. I can completely understand why people love this game, and this is an old, if people don't know, old game. I think it was developed by Sucker Punch. I always mix up Sucker Punch and Insomniac, because I feel like they're the same studio. They make roughly the same type of games, but I think it's Sucker Punch. But it's just always interesting going back to the old school style of gameplay. You could tell they still had, in this 3D modeling, 3D platforming, they sort of had issues with the camera and making it work properly, because there's some moments where it's just really frustrating and you don't quite land where you want to. And with old style platforming that Sly Cooper can, it's a lot of platforming, and it's like, what do you expect from all kind of mascots platformers back in the day, where you jump, hit some people, you collect some things through the level. It's very linear based, and you have boss battles at the end. It can be rather frustrating, but I can see the appeal of it. I mean, I've never been, Sly Cooper's been on my wall of shame of games that I haven't played, because people adore this franchise. So I've been going back and playing it, and I plan on continuing playing it, because, I mean, it's on Vita. It was like $5 for all 3, like the collection, so I thought that was a pretty solid deal. So I feel like I'm going to be playing through it. Also, I got a code from the publisher Double 11 for Super Cloud Built. I got that this week. I played it last night just to get into it. It's kind of like a parkour. You jump with L1, and it's like a parkour platformer where you explore different areas. I'll just read what they give to the media personnel. Quote, "You play as Demi, a wounded soldier who awakens in a strange new environment. You explore levels in your exosuit, which allows you to boost at high speeds through precarious terrains, leaping between platforms which float above mysterious abyss. The environment is littered with enemies, turrets, barriers designed to stop Demi from reaching her goal." And quote, "I'm not sure what the end goal is. It seems like you're just trying to wake up your body from it looks like your body was in some sort of accident, and now it's just sitting in a hospital chair, and it seems like you're trying to go through these levels to wake yourself up, wake your brain up." So it's a lot of parkour. You collect different power-ups that allow you to unlock different doorways. So in the first level that I only played one level. You're jumping back and forth. You collect a green power-up to then open the green door, blue to open the blue door. It's very straightforward, but it feels nice. It plays pretty well. I don't see where it can add to the basic thing that I'm seeing right now. So I'm not sure how it'll keep my attention. But I mean, I've only given it like 30 minutes, if that, so it's not really a fair shake, so we'll see how it goes. But thanks to Double 11 for sending me a code. And then, sad news, I tweeted out that I was going to boxing for the first time in a long while, and I was really excited because I've been on hiatus from boxing with everything that's been going on in my life, and also way back, I forget exactly when, I fractured my knuckle randomly when I'm punching a pad, and I've never been quite ready to heal, and it's just unfortunate because I realized today it seems like it just never healed properly. Because when I went to and I just hit the bag, and I just felt the same pain that I've always felt, and this has been months since I've let it rest, which is you're supposed to, when you fracture your knuckle, you're supposed to let it rest and heal, but it just seems like every time I try to strike anything hard with my right hand, it just hurts. So it's kind of sad because I really enjoy boxing. Got me through somewhat of a rough patch of my life, so it's just it got me a little down in the dumps, but I can make do. I can find other ways. Maybe Krav Maga is my next avenue. Learn some self-defense. Maybe do more Muay Thai where it's a lot more elbows and knees, less striking, even though there is striking. Or maybe go into Judo where it's mostly just grapples and submissions and stuff like that.
Or kickboxing.
Yeah, kickboxing. Gary, kickboxing, you throw a lot of your hands. That's what I was in kickboxing when this is actually a kickboxing class that I hurt my hand.
Oh God!
I was throwing punches. Yeah, I mean, you throw punches. It's kickboxing. There's both. You can kick and you can box. It's a combination.
I understand. You should just become the one guy that uses only his legs and can defend himself with his hands. So it doesn't punch.
Just be like that. Just be like a random Street Fighter character where it just only use legs. Shit, there was a fighting game where I think the only person just used their legs and looked like their hands were behind their back, but I can't quite remember off the top of my head now. So yeah, Gary, it is time, since we're done talking about ourselves, because who really cares about what we had to do in our lives? I mean, it's not like you come listening to us every Friday for this reason. It is time for This Week in Gaming, brought to you by Gatorade. But not really. It's brought to you by Moby Games. Thank you again. I know that annoys you, but I keep doing it anyway. But Gary, what has this gaming world brought to us this week in the past years? Enlighten all of us two Jersey kids. And all of us Jersey kids.
Alrighty, so we're going to take a trip down memory lane back to the glory days of football games. ESPN NFL 2K5 was released on PS2 and Xbox in 2004. Now, this is according to Wikipedia. This was the last football game to be released before EA signed an exclusivity deal to make the Madden series the only licensed football game. That's evil EA for you. Now, what's amazing to me, this was the most startling thing I read in this whole, I guess, trivia section of Wikipedia. This game shipped at a mind-blowing $19.99, while EA shipped at $49.99. Now, according to one of EA Sports' developers, this scared the hell out of us, and ultimately, 2K's low price would greatly reduce EA sales that year. Unbelievable. I didn't remember 2K sports games being that cheap. I remember them being cheaper, but nothing like that, though.
I remember this was a big thing back in the day. I remember this being the main craziness that it was released for $20, a football game of that magnitude and that much content to it, where it was only $20. So I can imagine how EA was scared as hell. Maybe, I don't know if 2K was reading the tea leaves and knew that EA was going to have the license to the football franchise or NFL franchise, and they just said, you know what, F it, we're going to screw your sales as well, so we're dropping the price.
Well, I'll be honest with you, I think that this right here, this price lowering, definitely had something to do with EA buying or trying to go for that exclusivity deal. I mean, obviously. But I remember the 2K games.
Could you imagine if EA never got that exclusivity deal. Do you think 2K would have released at this price, or do you think they would have continued recently at this price, and then EA would have been sort of kind of based on competition has to lower their price? I mean,
I don't know.
If they're offering equal products, I mean, you would have to go with the cheaper one. Am I right?
I mean, I guess. I'm not really sure, though, what would have happened. I mean, I think that I personally, as a hockey fan, I mean, I have to deal with EA Sports' their version of hockey games every year now because 2K just pulled out of the industry entirely. I kind of wish that 2K made sports games still, like, I mean, more sports games. You know, what is it, football, hockey, they don't do anymore. They still do. Do they do baseball? They still do baseball, 2K? Right? Yeah.
No, I think they stopped doing baseball. I haven't seen the 2K baseball on the because it used to be it was Xbox exclusive, and that was Xbox's exclusive baseball game where PlayStation had MLB The Show, and let's be real, the 2K baseball games got crapped on by MLB The Show. The last 2K game that I played was like 2K7 or 2K8, MLB 2K8, and the only reason I played it is because it was basically like home run derby. Because no matter what, you could hit the ball out of the ballpark. No matter what character it was, you could just lunge for it. Especially if you're like Chase Utley or Ryan Howard, for all those Philly fans out there. You could just. This was back when their stats were ridiculous and they weren't actually. Ryan Howard wasn't actually garbage. They could just reach out and like just barely touch the ball, and it would just go right out.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually do. I had I think it was 2K3. That was the last MLB 2K game I had, but that was a fun game. The show was just always so much better. I haven't actually bought a show game in a while because it kind of just, I feel like it's the same game all the time now, unfortunately. But anyway, overall, this game would do really well ratings-wise. I was looking around. Basically, Metacritic had it at like 90% and higher. I think Xbox and PS2 may have had like a 2% variance, but other than that, though, did very well.
I think this was the first game where it released like first-person mode for Xbox or for football games, and I don't think they've ever gone back to that any football game since.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I remember that specifically for this game, but I could be wrong. Tweet the podcast at 2 Jersey Kids if I ever get anything wrong, which is definitely going to happen this episode and future ones.
Well, you know what's actually funny about this? So this game, I remember playing, all these years ago. And I'm pretty sure this is the same game, but there was a skybox, right? Where you go and it was kind of like your personal space. It had like your trophies that you earned in the game. It'd be like how many Super Bowl trophies you had, different jerseys that you could unlock, stuff like that. And I think that you could play multiplayer against like celebrities that they put into the game. Like I think Steve-O was one of the guys in there, and I played against Steve-O.
So random.
It was it is unbelievably random, but I remember playing that game for that reason for some reason. I don't know. I don't know how my brain works. But anyway, that's enough of this game. Moving on to Final Fantasy IV, which released on the Nintendo DS in 2008. This is for a very specific fan of the podcast.
Which I was kind of I know who you're talking about, and she knows who we're talking about. I was kind of devastated today because somebody tweeted, "What are your favorite podcasts?" And I saw that she tweeted out an answer, and 2 Jersey Kids wasn't on there. And I was kind of devastated. My heart was hurt for the portion of the day. Actually, not really the portion of the day. It was maybe like 15 minutes, and I was like, oh well. We are a basically garbage truck on fire if I've ever seen or heard one.
Yeah, you right. But basically getting into the Final Fantasy game here, so this, again, according to Wikipedia. I always trust Wikipedia. It's very reliable. This game was an enhanced remake of the 1991 SNES, I guess, classic. So the game was ultimately received really well by fans and critics, and it was praised for being sufficiently faithful to the original while expanding on many gameplay and story elements. Additionally, it was also a nominee for the Best RPG on the Nintendo DS in IGN's 2008 Video Game Awards. Now,
is that kind of a cop-out if you rate this as the best RPG for Nintendo DS when it already came out for another platform and people know that it was great?
I mean, I don't know, but I mean, if you think about it, how many good RPGs or good games were on the Nintendo DS?
So. I don't know, because I was young back then and I didn't care about RPGs way back when.
Yeah,
and now I do care about them more. I've actually become more of a fan of JRPGs, which is kind of strange, because I want to go back, because I've been playing some on the Vita, and I want to go back and pick it up again. I've been playing like Suikoden 2 and Chrono Trigger, which is apparently an amazing JRPG that people love. Been playing that on the Vita, but unfortunately it's like a PlayStation 1 version of it, which is like the loading screens and everything are a lot slower than what would happen, what it was on the SNES. So it's kind of frustrating every time you pause or try to stop or go to a different area. It's a lot slower than what would have been on the DS or whatever version came out for the future Nintendo platforms.
Yeah. Do you remember the hype surrounding Nintendo DS? I remember everybody had to get one. It was kind of
I had one.
I absolutely did. And I remember, the same thing with PSP. That was like a huge thing. Sony was finally getting involved in like the portable game world.
PSP sold great because people were able to jailbreak it and get all the just random Nintendo ROMs onto the PSP platform and just take them on the go. Comparative to the DS, which I did get one, but I don't think they ever really hit their stride until they got to the 3DS, really, or the later iterations of the Nintendo DS. The first one was not that great, and I remember only playing like the rehash of Mario 64 and some I think it was like a Mario platforming game, but I can't remember exactly. The generic Mario games that come out for every Nintendo platform.
Yeah. Well, may I just say, my favorite Game Boy, I'm not sure about you, but my favorite Game Boy was the Game Boy Advance SP. And for one specific reason.
You could fit it in your pocket?
That, and it had a backlight. Remember how you used to have those I mentioned this before in previous episodes, but you had those stupid fucking things you would plug into your Game Boy, and it was kind of like a little lamp that would leave a glare on the screen and you couldn't really see. Yeah, it was terrible. But backlight for the win. That was awesome.
Solid.
That's
solid.
That's it for this week of game.
I don't think I've ever had a Game Boy SP. But that's the end of this week in gaming?
Yes, that's all I got. I actually didn't have too much on Final Fantasy. I tried to look up more, but I didn't really know enough about the game to go on about it, so I just wanted to throw it in there for the fans, for the people out there that love Final Fantasy.
For the Jersey kids out there. Gary, before we get into the news, I kind of want to add another segment to the show, which I feel like is going to be fun. The title of the show is I'm going to ask you a question, and it's going to be the same question every single week, and you're going to have to answer yes or no. It's a very simple question. So this question is, did Grand Theft Auto 5 make it into the top 10 chart sellers for the week?
Yes.
You are correct. It made number 9. And I was looking in the past. It's been off and on. Last week was 8. And I just want to see if it continues to reach the top 10 weekly sellers. It sold apparently basically 50,000 units this past week, which I don't understand how this game keeps selling.
Dude, I have to be honest. I never got into the online part of that game, but that is, I think,
that's
like
the bread and butter.
95. Yeah, it's like 95% of why that game's still in the mainstream. I mean, it's unbelievable.
But this is like people going out and buying the game itself, like buying it and downloading it. I don't understand that. It's not like buying extra content for GTA Online. That's not really roped into this metric. I don't think. This is global sales of the GTA 5, the actual game itself, the actual software. So I don't understand how it keeps happening. I don't know if there's a glitch in the system and somebody just keeps purchasing every single day or every single second. They just keep purchasing it.
They're looking up all the dead people and just basically ordering games for them, like all these.
That's it.
It's just basically fraud. They're fraudulent.
Yeah, that's it. I'm sure it is. Yeah. But moving on to the actual news this week, we don't have a lot of news topics here, or we don't have a lot of things we're going through, but there's a lot of juicy stuff that we need to get into, like a nice juicy real steak. But yeah, starting off, Gary, I just want to get you've been in the Destiny 2 pre-beta before anybody else because PlayStation 4 got it first. You've been in the Destiny 2 beta, and I just wanted to get your impressions. I just want to see what your thoughts are for the Destiny 2 beta.
All right, so I'll try to frame this somewhat organized. I don't know. It's kind of there's so many different ways I can go with this sort of stuff, but I actually planned. I'm going to tell everybody now. I plan on doing like a Destiny 2 beta reaction episode. I'm not sure how long it's going to be, but I want to kind of keep everything that I have, I guess, for that, but I want to give you just a general overview of how I've been feeling. So overall, it's not groundbreaking. The beta isn't anything crazy. It's not going to blow your socks off, but for any Destiny fan out there that's been playing the past 3 years, it's very much a a welcomed beta because it kind of improves on a lot of the weaknesses that the previous game had, whether it was, I don't know, weapon balancing or the way PvP behaved, the way PvE kind of got boring over time. It's kind of like an improvement on the previous game in that way. I know a lot of people have been saying that they've been underwhelmed by it. I think that's basically the people that were underwhelmed by the previous game. I think that a lot of people, they're hoping that Destiny 2 becomes something that it's just never going to become. They want it to be a story-driven game that has like a real, campaign, something that kind of like a Mass Effect type story where you have like these great characters and these great areas to explore, and they have like these amazing storylines that you branch off in. It's never going to become that game, people. If you don't like Destiny, I don't think you're going to like Destiny 2. It's time to accept it. I think the story's better. I think, I played the first mission. You basically have to, when you create your character, you start off and you play the first mission of the game, and I think they've made very good strides in making the story better. They have basically now the main characters that you saw in the tower basically for 3 years. They never moved. They're actually in the story now. They're in the missions. You see them actually in action now. They're using their super abilities to kill enemies, and you actually talk to them. So I think they've made strides in the story department. But again, it's Destiny. Destiny 2 is going to be too much different from Destiny 1 with regards to how the game behaves. But
you don't think that people are going to be excited if they actually build upon what they did with the Taken King, and it was an immersive story, and they built upon that specifically, and that brings people into the game itself, and drives them to the end, and then they're looking for more things to do in the game because they find out that they actually really come to love the gameplay itself and want to continue playing strikes and different raids and PvP. Do you think that's a possibility? Is there anything in the beta right now indicating that the storytelling is going to be more immersive, kind of like the Taken King? I think that it's hard to say. I think it's a possibility that more people will be brought in by the story, but I just don't think that the story is going to just kind of have like a lasting appeal. I mean, I think that they're doing, like I said, I think they've continued in that Taken King vein. They have like a similar story to what you're going to see in like the Taken King and the Rise of Iron expansion, but I don't think that the story is going to have like a lasting appeal. You're not going to go back and play it, for the multiple endings. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, but I mean, no one for all of previous Bungie games, Halo, you never went. They had the same ending. It was the same consistent story throughout the whole time. But people went back and played it, not because there were going to be different endings. They went back and played it because they enjoyed the gameplay itself of Halo, and they thought that it was a very conducive storyline. I mean, I played Halo 1 constantly, the story mode, playing certain levels because I thought they were awesome, and I got enjoyment out of it. Mind you, I still don't quite understand everything that happened in that storyline. Same with Halo 2 or Halo 3. I don't quite remember everything. It's not a standout story. It's not like something like The Last of Us that I'm going to be years from now still remembering that story between Joel and Ellie, and the ending, the decision. Basically, you're not making a decision of what happens, and it's more of the journey and the gameplay and the feel of the game itself. But I can also understand because Destiny is a shared shooter, and it has different aspects than just a first-person shooter where you're collecting loot, and there's a lot of different. You have a hit damage detection, so it's kind of takes you out of the quote-unquote immersiveness, I guess, of it, where you feel like it's more of a video game lootathon type deal.
Yeah, so it's totally. That's the thing. It's like apples. It's like apples and oranges, honestly. Like Halo. I mean, they have similarities, obviously, but like Halo you had this campaign and then you had multiplayer. It wasn't like with Destiny, everything's kind of just lumped into the same game. Like single player and multiplayer, they're kind of just there. Like there really isn't. You know what I'm trying to say? Like it's more of a. I feel like the game is ultimately the point I'm trying to make is like I feel like the game is ultimately going to revolve again around co-op game modes and competitive gameplay. I just think that's the way it's going to be.
I mean, isn't that always how these type of games are towards the end? I mean, that's what revolved around Halo 2 and Halo 3. It was the competitiveness of it. It wasn't the single player itself. I mean, people wanted to play the single player, but also people went to Halo 2 and Halo 3 or specifically Halo 3, because they saw what happened with Halo 2 and the online atmosphere that was built from Halo 2 and wanted to see what was built upon for Halo 3. And that's what mainly kept me there personally, is playing Halo 3 and all the ranked matches with my friends from high school all the time, like LAN parties, going over to people's houses and playing the game, and just how amazing that online experience was. And I think Destiny could somewhat have that if they sort of, because Bungie knows what they're doing. The Bungie has built great games in the past, but great first-person shooters. So I feel like people are down on Destiny just because it is Destiny. It is the name Destiny. But I have a feeling that somehow, because everyone's always down on it, I feel like somehow Bungie is going to pull something out where people are pleasantly surprised and pleasantly shocked that they enjoyed the game so much to the end. But we'll see. I give Bungie the benefit of the doubt, because Destiny, the last game, I think it was a pretty solid game. Felt great. The last previous games they made, I mean, I know people loved Halo Reach. Wasn't too much a fan of it. But Halo 3, Halo 2, Halo 1, love everything that they make first-person shooter-wise. So we'll see. I trust the developer.
That's the thing. I think that they have a lot less pressure going into this time. You know, before, I mean, it was partially their fault before, let's be honest, or mostly their fault. They had unbelievable hype leading up to the original Destiny release, and ultimately the game kind of fell flat right out of the gate. So I think this time around, there's not going to be as much expectation, and I think that they have a real chance to surprise a lot of people with what maybe the story is going to provide or what the co-op experience is going to be. So I'm looking forward to it. You know.
I mean, that's what surprised people about the Taken King, is that's what brought people back, because people went in that was already playing Destiny for the online experience and playing PvP, got the Taken King because, you know, new loot, you know, upgrade more so then you can go farther, explore new places, I guess you could say. And then the Taken King, they were basically taken aback, like, wow, this is an amazing immersive story. This is something, and now word of mouth was spreading between, you know, people in the industry and spreading out to people that played Destiny before that wasn't that haven't touched in a while. Me, for example, and I heard like people were enamored with the Taken King, and I was like, wow, maybe I should come back and take a chance on it. And I did, and I enjoyed what I played. Yeah,
I think that they did a really good job with Taken King, and they kind of continued doing that in the Rise of Iron expansion. But for me, the biggest problem they had with the story was that they didn't really have a story. It didn't seem like anything was really connected. Like a lot of the expansions were kind of just like you were focusing on a boss. Like this is the guy you have to defeat in the raid. This is the next guy you have to defeat in this raid. And I think the story just has to be a little more cohesive, and I think they can make it work. And I think that they're going to be able to do that this time around. Now that it's a full blown separate sequel and it's not just like an expansion. So it should be a good time. And I mean, I'm honestly really looking forward to the PC beta that's going to be coming out next month. So,
damn, Gary's trying to get on that PC bandwagon, you know, trying to be that pro shooter for Destiny 2. You're going to catch him up on the esports all the time on Twitch. He's going to be playing for one of those ESL leagues or whatever. I am such a noob when it comes to esports that I have no idea what I'm talking about. Remember when MLG was a thing?
Yeah.
I think it still is a thing, but there was specifically a site that I remember going on with some of my friends from high school for like Call of Duty or Halo, and you would specifically create a team, and then you would go and play private matches with these people, and then set your score and you determine your rank. I remember that so fondly, and specifically that's what we used to do when it came to MLG. I forget what the site was called. It could have been MLG. I don't know.
There's a site out there. I can't remember either. But we actually played in a Destiny tournament. This is like months ago. I don't even remember when it was. But we played in a Destiny tournament, and it had like, you know, all the top streamers, all the top players in Destiny, and it was a lot of fun. We won a few games, but
then you got shat on. Am I right?
Well, yeah, because shotguns. But that's. Yeah, shotguns, people. They're evil.
So let's get back to Destiny 2, because we haven't touched on it much. You haven't gone more specifics. How does the gunplay feel? How does all of that feel? How the specifics of, you know, different weapons, hand cannons, fusion rifles, scout, shotguns, your favorite, Like what?
Well,
what do you got?
So in terms of like the PvP experience, you're going to see a lot less supers and abilities now. There's really long cooldowns. Now, keep in mind, a lot of the gear that you get right now isn't really going to be anything good. I think they're saving a lot of the good gear, a lot of the good weapons for the actual release. So I think that the gear you're going to be getting in the future is going to reduce the cooldown time. But right now, like in the beta, I feel like the PvP experience is just a lot more gunfights. You're not going to see as much.
Cool.
You're not. Yeah, it's great. I personally really enjoy it. It's 4v4 now, so it's a lot less crowded, and I feel like, I just like the 4v4 game type. I kind of grew to hate 6s over time.
Yeah, 6v6 seems like it gets rather large. Especially in a certain map, even because the maps that they made weren't completely conducive for 6v6. They felt like it would be better suited for 4v4.
Yeah,
it just always felt like I can understand their perspective where you always have things happening, but when it's that crowded, it's kind of you like 4v4. I feel like is a good amount of players on each side of the team where it adds like a sort of a good pace, I guess you could say, to the PvP aspect of the game.
Yeah, and it's like. I don't mind chaos. I don't mind it being like a busy type of game where like everything's just happening all the time. But the way that Destiny became over time, where everything was just about spamming grenades and spamming supers, it was like, all right, this is stupid. You're not alive long enough to do anything, unless you have a super or grenades.
And that's what I liked about 4v4. I know I go back to Halo, but I mean, it makes sense to compare it to because it's the same developer. But Halo all the time, 4v4, it felt like there was good pacing to it where there were those quiet periods where you're walking trying to find somebody, and it's not like in Destiny it's always like you had to peek around the corner waiting for somebody to come. The same with Call of Duty, like you're always expecting somebody to be there because the teams are a lot larger. And Halo, I like the quiet periods where you sort of feel like you're stalking somebody but then also getting stalked by somebody else, where it's sort of a kind of a cat and mouse style where it's where certain people will be, but you don't know quite, just because there's so much room and space that they have more ways to maneuver around objects and stuff, where it's not like a clusterfuck of people just conduce to one control point, basically.
Yeah, it's definitely, with the 44, it definitely is a lot more simplified now. Everything's kind of a little more under control. You can fight a lot more people one-on-one instead of getting teamed up on, although I seem to always take on 3 people at one time. I don't know. I got killed by 3
right,
supers.
Gary?
Oh, I mean, there's been a couple times where I pulled out some superhuman shit, but most of the time you're going to lose.
Brush your shoulder off, Gary. Brush your shoulder off.
Hey, I admitted I got shit on. So anyway, and actually, to get back to the guns, though, the guns in this game, I have to say, feel a lot. Now, again, this is a beta. They're not going to give us everything, a lot of the good guns that you're going to earn, I'm sure. But the guns just feel so much weaker this time around. I mean, I have a hunter. I created all 3 characters, and depending on which character you have, you do start out with different weapons depending on which character you choose. You can choose a hunter, titan, or warlock. I feel like the hunter. I really liked how the hand cannon felt personally. The scout rifles, pulse rifles, and auto rifles all kind of feel a little iffy to me. Really? A lot of recoil going on.
Do you think that's just based on the fact that you had lower level weapons, where it just feels like maybe,
I do think that.
Maybe later on you'll have less recoil for more accurate guns. They'll have less damage, obviously, but it's just they don't want to give everybody the best gun right now.
Exactly, and that I definitely think that's true. That's something that really stuck out for me is a lot of the guns that, like a lot of, I guess the way the guns behaved in Destiny, it's just so different in this game, and you feel like you do less damage with guns. There's more recoil, and I feel like it's just a totally different feel in multiplayer for someone that's been playing the past few years. So definitely a major change in the competitive scene.
Do you feel like there's more of a balance shift in class rank? Like what class is going to be better suited for PvP? Because I've been hearing Titan's even better now than it used to be, and Hunter has sort of gotten more quote unquote nerfed. I'm not sure. Yeah. Did they show off more of is there only one super that you're allowed to play as in the beta for each class?
So the way it is in the beta is you can choose your supers. Obviously with a hunter, you have a golden gun, and then
they just build off what the supers of the first game and just added one more?
It's different now though, because like there's only 2 supers that you have per class as opposed to 3 that you had before. So they changed up some of the supers. Like the hunter now, you don't have a blade dancer anymore. I think it's called an arc strider, where you have like a double bladed, like kind of, you look like Darth Maul a little bit, to be honest. But I don't really like the way that super is, to be honest. In terms of like the classes though, I think, I mean, the Titan's always just so good. I mean, if you were just starting Destiny, I would recommend going as a Titan, because it's just kind of like the easiest class to get a hold of and kind of just get into the action and play. You have like a lot of armor. You can take more damage. In terms of, I guess, like the hunter, I personally, that's my favorite class. I love playing as the hunter. The mobility is just so much better than everybody else. You can jump around. I like the mobility personally. The warlock, on the other hand, I haven't been a big fan of. I never really have been. I don't like the slow movement. I don't like their jump, that glide they have. I feel like it's just so damn slow.
You're damn picky, Gary.
Well, I'm just being honest. That's just my take. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have too much of a. I can't really say whether or not one class is going to be better than another, because it's the beta and it's such a small sample size. I feel like we have to wait until the actual release date to really get into which class is going to be better, because you never know which guns are going to come out, what armor is going to come out. So we'll have to wait and see on that.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing your opinions. We are now 40 minutes into this podcast, which is insane.
All right. Well,
yeah, maybe you guys can, if you guys want to join us this weekend, we'll probably be playing the Destiny beta. It's coming out tomorrow, right? It's just open beta for everybody.
Indeed, it's coming out today, actually. It's Friday, people.
Oh, true? Oh, you got me, damn it! Finally, I screwed up. But yeah, we'll see how that goes, because I know a lot of people had sign-in problems. I can only imagine now there's going to be even more sign-in problems, because everybody is going to get in on the Destiny. But maybe people get at midnight, and then I'll be fine.
Well, I will say the sign-in, I actually didn't have any problems really at all. I remember the first time I logged in, I did get an error code. Then I just clicked again, and I was fine. So I was very surprised, because I'll be honest, the original Destiny launch was disastrous.
Maybe they learned from their mistakes. Speaking of not learning from their mistakes, let's move on. Yeah. Apparently, Nintendo Switch Online app has officially launched for iPhone, Android, and it apparently is not that great, to say the least. Martin Robinson over at Eurogamer gives a nice rundown. Quote, "At present, you can only take part in private battles, and the voice chat itself seems extremely limited. Unlike with Skype, if you flick aside to another app on your phone, you'll lose the ability to talk to your friend. So if you need to head to an IM client, as I did, to figure out with a friend exactly how to make sense of all of it, you're fresh out of luck." So apparently, the breakdown even more. So voice chat is only active as long as the app is open. The smartphone in use also has to be unlocked and is screen on in order for you to voice chat to work. So if you shut your phone screen down, the conversation is over. If you glance at a walkthrough, that means no more voice chat. So apparently, which makes sense, the Nintendo subreddit has been, I don't know if you've seen this, Gary, but it's been blowing up. There's a lot of speculation if this could be a hardware limitation, but a Reddit user, Cool Kid Ken, great name, shoots down the idea quickly by stating, quote, "No way there's a hardware limitation. Voice chat has been on consoles for over a decade. Even the PS Vita, a noticeably weaker handheld than the Switch, has voice chat. There really isn't an excuse but poor management for this abomination." Damn. End quote. That was just about the accessibility of the app. There's more things regarding the connecting the headset, which I put in the picture here, Gary. It just seems like this is an abomination of itself, where you have to connect the headset to a splitter, which then splits to your Nintendo Switch, and then also your phone app. And so there's been a lot of backlash. If you go to Nintendo subreddit, there's a lot of people cursing, getting upset. Like, what? This just seems like... This is... Me personally, this is just what I've seen in my life, listening to Nintendo and seeing Nintendo. They just have never gotten the grasp of certain things. Like, they make great games. They make fantastic games. Their IP's spot on. But they can never grasp one certain thing. Whether it's in, I don't know, example, like the Wii U, they just wanted to then become more... They kept with the motion controls. They thought that was the next big thing. Or the Wii U, like... using that stupid gamepad. They just thought that was the way to go. And now this, it just seems like they just don't quite get the online. They've never gotten on, actually in the Wii U, all the Wii from all the way to the Switch, they've never quite grasped online. And I just don't understand why they have not been able to just completely go for it and try to make it accessible. And this is just, burning the people that are supported the Switch and want to play online. And you're sort of, this app is sort of making it not necessary. Why would people want to get this app when they can just, I don't know, use the third party app called Discord, where they can easily just chat in that space?
It's almost like I don't know what to say, but I kind of know what I want to say. Can I just, Nintendo, I have to say, for as much as they innovate, they're still in the Stone Age. It doesn't make really any sense. Like they want to show everybody, oh man, we made this Nintendo Switch. It's crazy. You can take it on the go. You can have it at home. And everyone's like, oh my God. And then all of a sudden, this phone app comes out, and they're like, oh yeah, this is going to have the online features that you need to talk to friends at a basic level. And yeah, this is what happens. And it's just amazing. I almost have to say, like, you kind of saw it coming, but you didn't want to.
Yeah, you did.
You didn't want to believe it.
It was like you watching a car crash about to happen. You just can't do anything about it. And do you think maybe this will shatter people's image of Nintendo finally? Because I don't want to say finally, because I'm happy that Nintendo Switch is doing well, and just people have been, on Nintendo's D all this whole time, the whole Switch coming out, and they're excited, and there's articles from all the outlets whenever a Nintendo Switch game comes out, and they're like, oh, this is great, this one game is coming to the Switch. And I've always commented, it's like, why don't you show this attention for games when it comes to another console? But if it's just like a random little indie game, they mention it because Switch is still so thin when it comes to games. And it just seems strange if people comment. It's like, oh, why shouldn't we be happy that people are supporting the Switch? And I'm like, yeah, I get it. You should be happy, but this just seems like this is an unnecessary. Like, you are showing somewhat favoritism for this one console because, I don't know, is it Nintendo? I understand people have childhood love for Nintendo, and nostalgia is a very hardcore drug, I guess you could say, where people just always love it. And this is classic Nintendo. I hate to say it, but this right here is classic Nintendo. They somehow deliver, but they don't deliver, because this is Nintendo. They look forward, and they try to go forward in random places that don't make any sense. Like, they try to push the limit hardware. Wii U or Wii, they did motion controls. It wasn't really too much of a space for Wii and motion controls, just out of the blue. Then they did the gamepad thing where it wasn't really on the go, it was just playing on the gamepad in a touchscreen style Fisher Price toy. And then this is like a hybrid, which they're pushing the hardware, but they still have the motion controls with the Joy-Con. And then they just crap on this. Like, it just seems like this is Nintendo. This has always been Nintendo. They've always not had their eye in the place where a lot of people want them to be. Like, a lot of people want an online functionality service so they can play Splatoon together, because people have been loving Splatoon, apparently. I don't even know if that's out, but apparently I think it is. I don't know, because it's supposed to launch with Splatoon 2. So I think it is out now, because I think it released on the 19th. We're recording on the 20th. But it just, am I saying, what am I saying making sense? That it just, this is what I've seen from Nintendo year after year, all the time, from my little childhood. And maybe it's just because I've never grown up with the NES. I didn't grow up with the NES, or SNES, so I don't have this nostalgia, chub for Nintendo all the time. So it just seems like straight BS when outlets comment like, oh yeah, the Switch is fantastic, or the Switch is getting this one game, let's highlight it here and make a whole one article about it. And then I'm like, that just seems like favoritism, and that's not right in this type of industry.
Let me, if I can, draw an analogy, a comparison. No, you're fine. It kind of reminds me of when the prequel trilogy came out for Star Wars, and I remember reading about first reactions that people had to that movie, or Episode 1. Everybody goes in, they watch the movie. It's terrible. But yet, they come out of the movie theater, and they're like, it was good. It was different. It was great. It was really awesome. And then, like, a week passes. Yeah. And then, like, a week passes, and they're like, man, this this really wasn't any good at all. And this is kind of what it's reminding me of. It's like people just want Nintendo to be good because, it used to be good. Star Wars back, I actually, this is excluding episode 7, but like, Star Wars was good with the original trilogy, and then it sucked with the prequel trilogy. But it was Star Wars, so people wanted it to be good. They had nostalgia. They had memories tied to those movies. It's the same thing with Nintendo now. And Nintendo still somehow finds a way in today's social media world to not know what people want. It's mind-boggling. These people.
Well, if they go on the subreddit and anything online, social media, they'll know.
Yeah, and. Well, apparently, or they just take their phones and throw them in the ocean and have never looked at them again. I don't understand how this happens. I mean, you are a technology company, and yet you still don't know what people want. It's mind-boggling. And it's hilarious to me.
People mentioned back in the Wii and Wii U, those eras that they wanted a online functional console from Nintendo, and the cool kid Ken points out like the PS Vita has voice chat built in. Like you can voice chat with the Vita. I know because I've used it, or not used it, but I have the Vita and I know it has voice chat. And
the original Xbox, 2001.
Yes,
2001 people. One.
Wait, what was that? What was that last number?
Fucking one.
Okay.
Actually, it might not have been that early, but Xbox Live, people, that happened, and voice chat was available. It's still not available on Nintendo on the console, like, effectively. Mind-boggling.
It just seemed... I don't know if this was Nintendo trying to peddle something else, like an app that they get, a third-party app that get downloads and do ad support. No, I don't know.
I want to see somebody defend it. That's all I want to say. I want to see somebody come out and be like, this is good. I like this.
I like this. And then we didn't even touch on like the craziness that is the headset monstrosity of having to connect it to the phone and then have it connected to the Switch both go into the splitter to then go to this weird looking headset. It's just very strange. And also the fact that if you closed down if you swipe anything away from the app or anything at all, it has to stay up. Like your phone can't go to sleep.
Yeah.
It's just like a huge battery suck. You better be having your phone on just charged up. It better be just on charge.
Yeah, just buy another phone. That's not expensive. Just buy another phone and have it specifically for Nintendo, their online app. That's the solution, people. That's the solution.
I think that's a little extreme, but you get our point. Moving on. Exciting stuff here, Gary. Kingdom Hearts 3 is apparently coming out in 2018. So apparently at the conclusion of this Disney D3 Expo, they showed a Toy Story themed trailer for the game, and at the end of it, they revealed that the game would be indeed coming out in 2018. One, I don't want to gloss over the fact that Kingdom Hearts 3, you'll be going to Toy Story Land. My fucking dream. I've always wanted that, and I'm always happy. Now that Pixar has merged with Disney, you can go to all these other lands that I wanted to go back in Kingdom Hearts 2 era, even though it's been like 13 years since Kingdom Hearts 2, and I don't even know what's going on in the story, but I'm pretty excited because, I just talked about nostalgia as a drug, and this is the drug right now where I'm really hyped up on Kingdom Hearts knowledge because I love Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2, which Kingdom Hearts 2 wasn't as good as Kingdom Hearts 1 in my opinion, but I really am excited to go into Kingdom Hearts 2 where you can go into different areas and such and blah blah blah. But apparently I also saw that Toy Story this world will be, because they were writing Kingdom Hearts and they were based on the story of Kingdom Hearts or Toy Story 1 and 2. That's what they had. It's just crazy how long this game has been in development, or it's been in the wings being written, and only Toy Story 1 and Toy Story 2 were out by the time while they were writing this.
Jesus.
Then Toy Story 3 came out, so apparently it's supposed to take place in between Toy Story 2 and 3. And now, since Disney has acquired so many properties, I sort of gave some thought as to what properties I would want in this. I would 100%. The only property that I really gave thought, because I thought of an idea, was Star Wars. Since Disney owns Star Wars now, I would 100% love Star Wars. I don't know if it would make sense. I say here in my notes that it would make sense. Maybe in my, nostalgia hype thing that I was like, yeah, it all makes sense. I don't care. It makes sense. But I would just love, if they sort of put like a surprise factor where there's not really a Star Wars world like per se out on the map where you can see, because I don't know if you play Kingdom Hearts 2, but there's a lot of, it's like a world map where you're hopping from place to place with your gummy ship, which unfortunately is still in this game because people understand the frustration when it comes to gummy ships. You can apparently build your own ship, but I never built it because it just seemed like not intuitive at all, and I just did the basic default because that's what got me through the game. So it'd be kind of cool if you're hopping from place to place and you're about to go to the next area. And I just think it'd be cool if you're going randomly and all of a sudden there's a cutscene and you get shot down by, what's that? Oh, it's a TIE fighter, and you land on Endor and you're like in the middle of, the final battle, and then you have to go up to the Death Star and help Luke Skywalker fight the Emperor and Vader, and at the end you get your your Keyblade turns into a lightsaber basically. I just feel like that would be fucking rad. That'd be fucking nuts.
Coming from someone that has never played this game before, and may never play, if this was actually in the game, I would buy it the next day if I found out. Like, if you told me, like, yeah, dude, Star Wars is in it, I'm there. I'm there.
Do you know what Kingdom Hearts is?
You've explained this to me before, I think, on this very podcast, but I don't really have a grasp on it now.
It's basically just a amalgamesh of Final Fantasy cross Disney, which was strange at the time, but it ended up working. We have all the classic Disney characters in the first one. You had some well-known Final Fantasy characters in the first one and second one. You have like Cloud from Final Fantasy VII in it, Leon, and then also just have the Disney characters, Mickey Mouse running around and Donald Duck, and your partners with Donald Duck and Goofy. And apparently, I saw in the trailer now because it's. Because everything with the new technology, now your party can get up to 4, which is kind of cool. I'm pretty excited. Well, Gary, you're giving me the finger.
It's my index finger, not the middle finger. This is such a side note, but this is kind of like getting into Disney's buying of all these different properties. Okay, so let's take a trip back yonder to, I guess, 2007. Okay, I used to be a big player of Club Penguin. Now, that game was eventually bought by Disney, okay? Back in the day, this is going to sound crazy, but I emailed Club Penguin on several occasions saying that I would love Star Wars to be like somehow incorporated into like a party. Like, they had parties in that game, like summer parties, Halloween parties.
Of course they did.
Years later, after obviously I hadn't been playing Club Penguin for years anyway, Disney bought it. And then they actually had a Star Wars party in that game. You know how pissed off I am now? I was like, dude, if I was still... Why couldn't this happen when I was 13 years old? I was I was pretty salty about it, but that's just a side tangent. But yeah, Disney... But it's interesting, though, how Disney is taking over all these different properties now, like Kingdom Hearts, and they're going to be incorporating probably a lot of these elements.
Yeah, which is great. Like, because there's also Marvel. You got to think about Marvel and everything. Like, all of a sudden, you could be just playing around with Iron Man. I don't think Spider-Man because that's a Sony property still. But you could be flying around with Iron Man and Thor and the Hulk and all these Marvel Avengers and superheroes. That'd be kind of cool. Star Wars, I feel like, is my top thing here. I mean, other Pixar movies, you go Cars, which is all right. But Bug's Life, that seems like it would fit perfectly in the Kingdom Hearts franchise. You get shrunk down to be a bug size and try to work your way to escape, basically. Big Hero 6, another... I'm picturing it now like a cross between Big Hero 6 and Iron Man, because I don't know if you saw Big Hero 6, but Baymax basically like a kind of like... Basically, in his suit of armor, becomes Iron Man because he can fly around and everything, and then... I'm already excited about it. But here's the thing. It says it's coming out in 2018. Here's where I take a step back. Here's where I cool the jets and, I deflate everyone's, metaphorical boner, okay? I don't believe the 2018 date. I know they put that out there, but, 2018 is a gigantic window. It's not even a window. It's like a dock bay door opening size window. I don't believe 2018. They've burned plenty of people before in the past about release dates, Final Fantasy 15 being included. I really don't believe it at all. I'll believe it when I've put it on Twitter. I'll believe it when it's actually in my download queue, downloading to my console before I believe that it'll come out in 2018. And the reason being is I heard a story, or I saw a report that apparently like a year and a half in, they decided to changed the game's engine just a year and a half in already to development of the actual game itself. And I was like, this seems like classic Square. It seems like something Square would do. Why not just change the game engine now when you get your Windows 2018? That just seems like something you would do. I know that's a little exaggerated, but it just seems like like people mention like, oh, maybe Square is finally getting into the groove of releasing games in a reasonable time instead of 15, 13 years now. I don't know. We'll see, because they've only recently released Final Fantasy 15, which is a pretty solid game. Allison Lodato, a fan of the podcast. Maybe. Who knows nowadays? Call back to the beginning of the episode. But yeah, she reviewed Final Fantasy 15 on our podcast, and I played it. I really enjoyed it. The reason I like Kingdom Hearts back when I was a younger kid, it kind of had a JRPG style to it, but it was very fast-paced, action-y. Kind of like Final Fantasy 15 is nowadays, where more fast-paced, less JRPG style to it. Even though now, in my olden age, I have come to appreciate. It's like a fine wine. I like to... Okay, I'm going to stop talking. Moving on. Moving on. I just wanted to include this because it's a very strange error that Xbox users have been receiving, and I just thought it was kind of funny. So apparently the error Xbox One users have been receiving it just says, mock error title. This would be, quote, this would be some long description about the error. Read it and weep. And if you hadn't looked up this phrase on the internet, please do. You will find a My Little Pony episode called Read It and Weep. Cloud Chasers and Wonder Bolts, you'll never be forgotten. Apparently, people have been reporting that they received this error. Apparently, this was a testing. This thing should have been just in testing phase, but people have been receiving it now. I don't know if somebody in Microsoft headquarters is a fan of My Little Pony. I personally have not seen My Little Pony. Have you, Gary?
I haven't, but I wanted to say something. I imagine that a lot of these programmers are like starting to shake in their boots because they have like all these hidden things away, and they might come out one day. Like, might be even worse than this. Who knows?
Yeah, I remember. There was way back when, I remember hearing a story about there was a game developed for PS3 or the 360 era, and they, third party contract out somebody to do like the sky, because a lot of developers don't have the manpower to do everything. Do you remember this? And apparently the third party created something in the sky that looked like penises, like it was penis shaped and everything, but because of the graphics and everything, you couldn't see it during the 360 or PS3 era because it wasn't rendered as smoothly as it could be. Then when they went back into the remastered version of it, when they were looked at it and up-resed it and everything, like, holy shit, there's penises in the sky. What is this?
Yeah.
Classic. Yeah. But moving on to a more juicy topic, I guess you could say. Apparently there's images and info of the AtariBox has been revealed. These images show... Have you seen the images, Gary? If not,
I have. It's pretty sleek.
These images show that Atari is inspired by the old Atari 2600 classic wood design. And this new console, it has a ribbed exterior along with front and back panels made of wood or glass. Atari is including SD card support and HDMI port and 4 USB ports on the AtariBox. There's 2 versions of the AtariBox which will be released. One is a wood... basically wood-looking casing, and another is black and red. Atari's, quote, objective is to create something new that stays true to our heritage while appealing to both old and new fans of Atari, end quote. So apparently Atari plans to deliver classic games in the Atari box along with, quote, current content, end quote. Atari has not yet provided much more information, stating, quote, we know you are hungry for more details on specs, pricing, and timing. We're not teasing you intentionally. We want to get this right, so we've opted to share things step by step as we bring this to life and listen closely to the Atari community feedback as we do, end quote. And also, but after I made these notes together, I was hearing that there were some rumors or rumblings that this may be a crowdfunding source or crowdfunded type project, which is kind of strange. So I'm really confused where this fits in. They talked about it could be a classic content, so it's kind of like the NES Classic and SNES Classic, even though I don't know what person wants to go out and play old Atari games, because Atari 2600 games are not really that conducive nowadays. I can understand SNES and NES games where it was 8-bit, 16-bit, where they were actually felt more like games where this is like, I don't know, what, 4-bit, and you just 2 little blocks hopping back and forth. I don't know. But then also current content that they're releasing on this is kind of strange as well. Like, it just seems like they're just like flip-flopping. Oh, we got the old and also the new. Like, what?
Well, you made a good point. When was the last time you were walking down the street and someone said, "Man, I really wish I had my Atari right now"? I don't remember the last time that's ever happened. Oh wait, it never did. I don't know about this. I don't know what they're doing here with this console. I kind of feel it's kind of like a cash grab in a way. Well, it may be a cash grab because, like I said, I don't know who's going to go out and rush out to buy a AtariBox Classic. If it kind of goes into that same Nintendo thing where they try to make like a remastered old console.
But if it's current content as well, what type of games are they bringing to it? Because if it's a current content or console, I mean, they have the SD card support, they have HDMI, they have up-to-date ports and everything. I'm just confused what they're going to bring to it as well besides classic content.
It's kind of bizarre. Confused. It's kind of bizarre. It kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, it did come out of nowhere. And like I said, like I've been saying, like I don't know who ever asked for this. It wasn't like there was a movement on Twitter that started, and now Atari's like, you know what? We've answered the call, folks. We're coming out with an AtariBox, and everyone's all pumped about it.
Even though I forget who owns it, because I don't think it's the original people that owned Atari actually owns the name and property. So this is kind of ironic. But moving on, I'm going to go through this briefly because it's not really huge news besides the last point that I feel like it's more speculation at the end, but we're going to get into it. But TellTale Games outlines its plan for the rest of the year and 2018, including announcement of Batman: The Enemy Within, The Walking Dead: The Final Season, and The Wolf Among Us 2. This announcement is basically days after their report was that TellTale will not be continuing its Tales of the Borderlands and Wolf Among Us, which is kind of shocking because Wolf Among Us was a part of their plans. The first episode of the Batman Enemy Within is titled The Enigma, and it kicks off on August 8th. The series will be available at a season pass disc in October on PS4 and Xbox One. I just wanted to blow through that real quick. It's kind of strange because one day before, a report said this game is not coming out, TellTale doesn't have plans, and then TellTale says, "Listen, bitch, we actually have plans for this game, so shoo off." I really hope they do a Tales from the Borderlands game sequel. Game was phenomenal. Had me laughing, had me rolling. Moving on, because we got to get this episode done with. We're flying through. We're at an hour and 5 minutes, hour and 6 minutes. So apparently there was a Nintendo 64 controller trademark has been filed by Nintendo, sparking rumors that they may be trying to do an N64 Classic Edition. The trademarks apparently were filed for the NES and SNES controllers prior to the announcement of the subsequent Classic Editions. If this is the case, what games come to mind that there should be on there? It looks like you're falling asleep. Do you not want the N64 Classic?
Well, I don't know. Look,
let's just go with the. I'll go with the games that I first thought off when I saw this. I was thinking Mario Kart 64, the classic Mario Kart 64, Smash Bros, GoldenEye, Mario 64, Ocarina of Time, and Majora's Mask. Those seem like the generic 7 that will definitely be on this, or they should be on this. But Gary, I have it in my notes, and I feel like you're feeling the same type of way. So do you want me to go first on what my thoughts are, and then you roll off of them, or you want to just, go into you?
Go right ahead, man. Go right ahead.
So this is what I was thinking when I saw this, and me personally, this is just what I've been thinking. But I'm not sure if I really want a Nintendo 64 Classic. I don't know if people out there is going to hate me for saying that. It just doesn't seem like... Like, I've gone back to these games before, and I just don't think... Because now they're entering the 3D space and all the polygons and all the 64, 32-bit polygons here and there, and these games... I've gone back and played Mario Kart 64 after playing the GameCube version of it. I played Smash Bros. After playing the Wii and GameCube version of it. I played better first-person shooters than GoldenEye. I've played other Legends of Zelda games, even though Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask don't crucify me. I know they're probably better than some of the Zelda games that I played in the future, like what was that? Not Skyward Sword, Twilight Princess. There it is. But they don't control, from especially Mario Kart 64 and Smash Bros., they don't control nearly as well as the GameCube versions and the Wii versions and all of that. And I hate to say it, but I'd rather play those versions than this old 64 version of it, especially with the monstrosity that is the N64 controller. I don't know how you feel, Gary, but that's just, I'm not really as hyped for this as I would be. I'd rather play, honestly, I would rather play a GameCube version of GameCube Classic Edition than the N64.
Yeah, to be honest, I think they're just going for the cash at this point. They've realized that they can sell well, and now it's just, okay, we're going to put out this console now. We're going to make money off of this one. Now, my personal question is, why not just take all the money from all the profits from this N64 Classic, if it indeed does come out, and put it forward, for your goddamn phone app.
Oh, bringing it back, folks. Bringing it all the way back. That's what we do at Two Jersey Kids. Good job, Gary. Bringing it back to the online phone app.
Do it. Seriously, I don't care about these classic consoles anymore. I tried to get my hands on the first one they came out with, but they didn't have any in stock anywhere.
We'll see how the SNES, they say there's supposed to be more in stock, but we'll see, because every time you try to pre-order it, it just goes out of stock like that.
Yeah.
Thank
you, Nintendo. Thank you.
Maybe they should put more of their profits into actually manufacturing more of things that people want, instead of delivering half-baked, half-assed online apps that apparently just don't work unless you have it up constantly and you have to split it into different parts, and because that makes sense, because that is
crazy talk.
That's like very user-friendly. I put it out on Twitter, like, this seems less user-friendly than the PlayStation 3 interactive chat, which is insane to say, because
Indeed.
PlayStation 3 was garbage when it came to online chat. Like, the only way you could party chat was if you weren't playing the game, but then you could still chat on PS3 with people.
Right.
You just had to mute them. There was no
That's
party
true.
chat.
That was such a dumb thing. I actually forgot about that because it's been so long, but yeah, you had to chat. You couldn't even. That was so bizarre. Yeah, that whole thing was terrible.
If you go back in that time period, no one really thought of party chat until Xbox introduced it with the 360. I remember getting party chat on the 360. I was like, holy crap, this is amazing. I can play Skyrim while another person is, or not Skyrim, I can play Oblivion while another person is playing, I don't know, Halo 3, and still chat with my friends, see what they're doing, or play the same single-player game and explain what is going on in both our sides. It's just fantastic.
Indeed.
And then it is just PS3 came out a year after, and I don't think they ever thought about this, and they can't really change their software to be suited for this, for a party chat, especially because PS3, their online support was kind of, it seemed like it was I don't want to be, nationist, the Japan developers, Japan hardware developers, but they just seemed like they just ignored online support, even though it seemed like Xbox Live was such a success on the original Xbox, in my opinion, and then Xbox just blew it out of the water with their new Xbox Live on the 360 and just made it more user-friendly, and Sony just seemed like they tacked it on, and Nintendo seemed like they tacked it on even more with this online app.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's like you said, like PS3 or Sony in general just got cocky, and they just didn't, like you said,
that's
didn't
for damn
listen.
Sure. Get another job so you can pay for the PS3.
Yep.
That is cockiness at its finest.
Yep, that's a douchebaggery at its finest. Douchebaggery.
That's to say the least. Gary, do you want to say anything before we head out? Because this has been a long episode. This has been a treat for all you Jersey kids out there that have been listening to our beautiful, sexy voices.
Well, I've been enjoying myself. It's been a while, I feel like, since we've done our last episode, even though it's not really anything out of the ordinary.
Every week, Gary. We're here every week. It's the same time frame as usual.
But it feels great. It feels good. It feels right. You're actually at home. You're not in a moving vehicle. Now, you weren't. Now, granted, you weren't. I'm sure you weren't doing anything unsafe. You
not
weren't.
At all. I'm safe.
So we're all good here, people. But yeah, it's been great being here. I'm looking forward to doing this again. Hopefully, next Friday. I intend on recording some sort of Destiny 2 reaction episode at some point. Again, not sure how long it's going to be. Not sure exactly when it's going to release. But I will be doing it, so
vague. That's what we do here, apparently, at Two Jersey Kids.
Yeah.
But not vague is that we release every Friday. Indeed. For all your beautiful ears to hear us talk. You can follow us on Twitter at Two Jersey Kids. That's basically it. You can hit the subscribe button. what you're going to say, Gary? You're about to say something.
One final thought. Yeah. The episode will release after the beta is over, after the whole thing is done. So it'll probably be sometime next week, after, Sunday. So, yeah. That'll it's somewhat better than just saying, I don't know when it's going to release, but sometime in the future. But, yeah.
Can I speak now?
Absolutely. Wrap it up.
Okay. So I just want to say thank you all for listening. We have been consistently now. I know we haven't been releasing as many episodes, so the download numbers probably aren't as impressive as we used to say, quote-unquote impressive, but we're happy with them. Right now we're getting close to 400 now per episode, which I think is amazing. The last two have hit the 400 mark, and I think this next one, episode 46, will probably get there, hopefully. And hopefully this one will too, especially because there's a lot of amazing topics that we're talking about, and I'm really thankful for all you guys listening, and if you are a new listener, I just want to tell you, we appreciate you being here, and we appreciate if you do hit that subscribe button. We also appreciate so much to hit that, give us an iTunes rating. We appreciate you so much that if we get to 100 reviews, I will be giving away my Xbox One console to all the written reviews out there. I'll be putting them in a random name generator. Well, not random. I did this again. A random name chooser, just random number selector, basically, and choosing somebody to win my Xbox because I don't play it as much, and I feel like people will get better use and time out of it, and I just want to give it to the Jersey kids and Jersey gamers out there, give you a shot at it. If you're listening to this right now, please go over to iTunes, rate us, give us a written review if you want to get in on it. And also, before I go, I said and I promised that I would be reading reviews on the episode because we just recently got a review, and I gotta pull it up right real quick. It says great podcast by Donald_Coughlin.
Yeah, man.
I really enjoyed listening to the latest episode. I am looking forward to future ones and highly recommend this podcast to all. Very generic, very basic, but I really appreciate it, Donald. Thank you so much for rating us. And you guys, if you want to rate us, we'll read them on the podcast. And also, like I said before, you'll enter a chance if you write a written one, chance to win Xbox One, shipped to you, free of charge, just a gift from me to you. Thank you for rating us. If we get to 100, that's what I'll do. And also, here's a tidbit. If you get some of your friends to just give you generic reviews, just give us generic, 5-star reviews, that'd be great, because then that gives you a better chance of winning, play the odds.
We're starting to beg now.
No. Just, giving you a little, if you want to be scheming, I'm fine with that as long as it helps us. But this has been Two Jersey Kids. We thank you so much for being here. Gary, say bye.
Adios.
All right, y'all. Keep playing those games. Bye.